morning and good morning, my beautiful listeners, and welcome to another episode of the Endless Mindset Podcast. We're on episode 42 today, and I'm very super excited who I'm bringing you today. It's a completely different story to any other story I had before. Super inspiring, something new we haven't had. Hopefully, it will inspire you, the story itself, and as well, for some of you, it might even give you an ideas of what to do next in your life. I can't wait to dig deeper and introduce you a wonderful Matt Raad, who is an expert in buying online businesses and cash flowing website, and now helping along the way as well others to achieve their goals as well, to perhaps do what they've done because they discovered something what not many people know about. So let's dig deeper, let's find out what they do, and let's find out more about them as well. So Matt, welcome to my show. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you so much, Linka, for having me on here. I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm super excited to have you. I started the podcast saying good morning, everybody. So this is for my listeners. So yep. I'm in the UK at the moment. So we have 9:30 in the morning. Matt, where are you?
We're in Australia, sunny Brisbane, and it's a beautiful
Australia, baby.
It's evening here. It's evening here at the moment.
Amazing. It's always fascinated me. I was just telling you before we started recording. It always fascinates me. I call you guys a future people. So if anything happened important during the day, do not tell me you are in the future. Yeah.
Yeah, we see the sun first. That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. Matt, I'm honestly super excited to have you today. As I said already, maybe 5 times. So I think the guests will, my listeners now probably get it, that I'm really super excited to have you in today. As I said, as I've mentioned, I've not had this topic on my show. So this is really interesting, even for me, and I'm sure for the listeners as well. So Matt, do you want to tell us a little bit more about you and what you and your wonderful wife Liz do? Tell us a little bit more.
Well, like you said, it is quite unique. We buy and sell websites as investments, and basically these days as semi-passive income, just like you might buy real estate as a semi-passive income. So our background is we've always bought and sold businesses. When we first got together, that's what we started doing, bricks and mortar businesses. And then we were really successful at that. We make it sound really easy. I mean, in 5 minutes, it all sounds absolutely amazing. It's not. It was a lot of hard work. We were young entrepreneurs. We struggled for many, many years with bricks and mortar businesses. We did get successful with it though, but we're always, in debt to the bank. We were skirting bankruptcy a lot because you got a lot of money tied up in physical inventory. And so when we discovered this thing called the internet, now I'm a little bit older than you, Lenka. I'm in my mid-50s. So it was quite a long time ago when...
People can see you, but he doesn't look at people. Honestly, I'm going to ask you what the secret is.
Yeah, no, I've had a good life. See, I live in Australia, right? It's a good life.
Happy life.
And I'm not allowed to say how old Liz is. That's the rule in our family. Oh, well, when we're public. So
I like her. I like that rule.
Yeah.
Sorry,
so Liz is younger than me though. But we met at uni studying, believe it or not, red kangaroos, which sounds really weird. We're zoologists. That's what we studied. But we love business so much. We always wanted financial freedom. So that's why we started buying and selling bricks and mortar business. When we first got out of uni, we got help from family. And like I was saying, for any of your listeners, I realize a lot of your listeners are interested in business and possibly side hustles or getting into their own business. So we got a lot of experience. We've been doing this because I'm in my mid-50s. We bought our first business in my mid-20s, so about 30 years. We've been buying and selling businesses. And I've got to tell you, Lenka, when we discovered this thing called the internet, oh my God, that was like paradise for us. It was just it was God's gift to us, because we could suddenly apply everything that we'd done with bricks and mortar businesses, but doing it online was just way easier. All of a sudden, we didn't need all the debt. We didn't have to have physical, stock in a warehouse somewhere. And you think about it, we're in Australia, right? We're pretty isolated here in Australia, and we don't have access to worldwide markets. So in our bricks and mortar, we used to export and stuff. It's really tough from Australia. It's a long way to America or England, and which were our main markets, or Europe. Internet though, instant, 24/7. We have these things called websites.
Press the button.
Where we literally would go to bed, wake up in the morning and there's money in the bank account. And that was like a dream come true. That was my dream ever since I've been a kid, to create money out of thin air. And that's what websites allowed us to do, where we just love it. So all of a sudden we had instant access to America, Europe, and England. And people didn't even know that we're based in Australia. And most of our websites would be based in the US, probably.
Wow. That's interesting that you're saying literally, that. Sorry, that's interesting that you... Sorry.
I was just going to say, bottom line is, though, it is quite unique. So like you said, and that's what you and I guess, are going to unpack here, but it's very unique what we do. And we're grateful for it every day, I can tell you, discovering it.
Absolutely.
And it's just a lot easier than bricks and mortar, though. And I'm very, full disclosure, anyone listening, I am super biased because we've been so successful at it compared to bricks and mortar. Now, bricks and mortar were really successful as well eventually, but that took 10 to 15 years. When we got online, it took about 1 year.
Wow. Oh,
it's
wow.
Huge. It's so much faster.
Wow. I just, we'll get to that. I just couldn't help myself thinking, when you were saying that when the internet started, you said that when you were dreaming about it since you were a kid. So technically, we are all grateful to you for having internet. You visualized the internet. You created internet with your thoughts.
No. The vehicle to make money through a business on the internet. Maybe that's what we visualized.
I know. I'm just joking because it's like the way how when you were in your speed, when you were in your flow. It's for a second I was like, maybe we should thank him for the internet.
Well, maybe to the like being here, being able to share it, what we've done, because I think the other cool thing that we visualized really well, talking about that, Liz and I were really big on goal setting. When we're in business, bricks and mortar business, it was really tough what we were doing. We had a manufacturing business. So we're making spare parts for outdoor power equipment. And so we did a lot of mindset training and visualizing the perfect business. And we're also hanging out with, we both grew up in the country in rural Australia. And so we didn't know any millionaires. We didn't know any entrepreneurs. So part of our visualization was to hang out with very successful business people and learn off them. And that's the great thing about like your podcast. That's what your listeners can do. We started back then, there wasn't podcasts, but we'd listen to tapes or we'd go to conferences. And I think what we're always doing by hanging out with those people and getting role models of success, we were forming in our minds a very strong idea of what is the perfect business model. And that's why we kept buying and selling so many businesses as well. We bought lots, like we were right into it. Plus we were doing it as mergers and acquisitions specialists as well. We went right to the top, like to learn what are the best businesses. And then literally, I think for us, the turning point was when we decided we were going to have a family and everything. Liz said, well, we want to work from home. We need something from home. We know what we're doing. And the internet, we saw the internet and Liz figured out, she just said to me, why don't we do what we've always done, Matt? Just buy and sell websites though. Don't do bricks and mortar business. You've got to be able to figure it out somehow. And so literally it was Liz that,
Smart
go girl. She was the one that figured it out first and pushed, because she's really impatient. Well, she's a real go-getter. She's like you, like really, full on and she's impatient, but particularly back then, she's very competitive and very driven. And so am I, but in a different way. And I think our two personalities were just perfect for what we do now. And the rest is history, as they say. Like it just worked amazingly well. And that's why we get asked to, come on podcasts and talk about it. And that's why we get asked to speak at conferences. And so here in Australia, for the last decade or so, we've been teaching people what we do. And we love teaching beginners. So if you're listening to this and you're new to it, the big part you got to realize is it all sounds like, we're full on into IT and stuff. Not at all. We're two kids from the country. We're studying red kangaroos. What do we know about the internet?
You don't even have social media for those who's listening. No. I couldn't even find him on Instagram.
No, I'm not. Well, my team handle all that and I don't touch social media. Yeah. It's only probably in the last few years where I've even been interested in social media. I am now. I'm on Lenka. You'd be happy to know I've gotten with the times. I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook these days. So yeah.
I love the fact that you said I've never met anybody ever
yeah.
who is successful entrepreneur and say, I think apparently I am on that and on that.
Well, see, but so I do log, full disclosure, these days I log into LinkedIn once a week now.
Ooh,
which is impressive. Even Liz is impressive. She loves social media. She's on Facebook and all that sort of stuff. But I've never used it until the last few years. Not in business. I don't need it in business.
You know, obviously I'm making jokes and all that, but that's just, you know, but it is reason why I'm actually really bringing that back into this, to show again to someone when people are stopping always for some reason, people waiting for all the ducks to be in a row, or people waiting for, oh, I don't have perfect this or I don't have perfect that. You doing online businesses and you're not even online. It's like, like for those who's listening, like things what people think that I need, you know, I need to have this, I need to have this, I need to have, like with my podcast, when I started, I was using my laptop's microphone, but you go and you do it.
Yeah. Perfect. And that's what we've always done too.
Well done.
And it's funny, we teach that. One of the big things we teach, because we're teaching beginners, everyone freaks out that you need to have all these technical skills. And what I want to say to anyone listening, you know what our biggest mistake in this whole thing? We put it off for 2 years. We knew about this opportunity 2 years before we even started. So think how much money that's cost us, because the reason we put it off was because we were scared of the technical side. Neither of us knew how to program computers or build websites. So we saw the opportunity. We realized it would fit what we do with bricks and mortar, buying and selling bricks and mortar. But we realized straight away it would be perfect. But the two of us were too scared of the technical side because we didn't know, neither of us social media didn't even exist back then. So this was we probably discovered around 2005. But then we didn't fully start it till the GFC hit 2008. And what we did when we first did this, I have a love-hate relationship with computers. I'm not good with them. But Liz is good on that side. And she just said, right, we've got to get it over ourselves and not be perfectionism, just like you were saying, Lenka. That's so important. And you just got to go. One day we just decided, let's just do this.
Well done.
And Liz had to learn back then, you had to hand code websites. So she learned how to hand code it, the HTML and everything. And then it's totally self-taught. And then she learned how, any of your listeners, if you're a bit older and you're into tech, you probably will have heard of a program called Dreamweaver. There's one of the first kind of attempts at click and drag, but you still had to hand code. But of course, what happened rapidly after then, and which is why if you're listening and you're totally new to this and you've never been online in your entire life, don't let that hold you back. Like Lenka's saying, perfectionism is the killer of being an entrepreneur. You've just got to do stuff and not worry about it. And the really cool thing that's come along within a couple of years of us getting online is this thing called WordPress. And it's literally just click and drag now to build websites. And that's been a game changer. And that means we can now teach people what we've done. That's basically what we do. We just teach people how to build websites and how to renovate them. Because really, that's all we do. Just like you guys do with property, we do it with websites. We just build or buy and renovate, fix them up, and then you just hold them for the cash flow. That's literally what we do. And we rent them out. We basically either rent them out or you make money off ads on them. So we're not even they're not e-commerce sites or anything like that.
Do you teach people how to source good cash flowing website or?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I thought you was going to say how to source product. We do no e-commerce.
No.
We do, that's a bad name in our for us in our community. We don't recommend that for beginners. It's too complex. Anything to do with physical inventory. That's why I was telling my story at the beginning. For anyone listening, you got to understand. I literally do not like businesses that have physical stock anymore because it's just too hard as a beginner, and you're taking a massive risk to stick all your money into a warehouse. You know, even if you start out small, it's very challenging with physical inventory businesses. So we don't teach that when you got the
refunds and all sorts.
Yeah, refunds, dealing with the public. So we don't deal with any public with our websites. That's why we don't need social media. You literally, they're not set and forget. They're not passive now. It used to be very passive. So they're a little bit more effort now, But at the end of the day, we are not dealing with end users. We're not dealing with customer returns or anything, because we're literally just selling advertising space. That's it. Easy peasy. So I
Wow.
make it sound really easy. Please understand, if you're listening, it's not, it's not a get rich quick thing or anything like
Sure.
that. You've got to work at it. But the good news is anyone can learn how to do this if they want to step up and learn it. It's a whole new skill, obviously, and you might have to reskill in a couple of digital skills. But basically, what our process is, we just buy these websites, and yes, we teach people where to buy them, and there's lots to that, and I love that. It's super, super creative, Lenka. You would not believe how much fun it is. And there's thousands of websites for sale every single day of the week, every single day.
So just to give people idea, because even I have no clue when it comes to, so let's say you're starting out, are we talking like what sort of price range can you actually buy the website, especially when you're starting out, you have no much capital, you don't have much cash. Are we talking, are the websites for less than hundreds of dollars? Are we talking thousands of dollars or $10,000s? What sort of we're talking about?
Yeah, really good question. So with bricks and mortar businesses, again, if you're listening and you attempt to get in bricks and mortar businesses, they cost, you're typically up for hundreds of thousands of dollars. So obviously as a beginner, that's not a smart move because you're taking a massive risk, particularly if you want to do a side hustle. With websites, to answer your question, the really, really good news is you can buy a learner site. It's not going to make you heaps of money, but you can buy a learner site under $1,000.
Oh, wow.
So that's US.
Okay.
Yeah. So typically we suggest, it's actually one of the golden rules in our community. We say to all our clients, look, you can rush out there and buy good websites, but you're a beginner. That would be really dumb. You've never done this before. If you've never learned how this works, just take a low risk proposition. And I mean, really, if you can't afford, up to $1,000, you probably shouldn't be doing it because it takes money to renovate the sites a bit as well. But in essence, to start, as long as you can afford that, we say buy your first website under $1,000 and just learn on it.
That's
and learn the skills. Because then the skills that you apply to that site are exactly the same skills that you apply to
the $10,000
$10,000 website, $100,000 website, or $1 million website. But you've got to start somewhere. And the good thing is, in this game, there's no excuse. You can easily buy a website under $1,000 and get started. It's not going to be perfect or anything like that, but to learn on it, easy.
This is really interesting. And again, because obviously this is so interesting, and I'm sure that there's got to be people who'll be like, who will be like, right, how can I find out a bit more? So just kind of like, just the other thing, just to kind of have an idea. So because let's say we are talking about the beginners, because once we discuss the beginner side, everything else is obviously logically, you invest more, you put more time, you put more work.
You get
you
bigger
get
and bigger
returns. Exactly. So let's just stay with the beginner one. So okay, so a beginner would you help them to find a profitable website. They'll find the website, they buy the website. Now, how long roughly before they see any return?
Well, that's how long is this piece of string? We need to be very careful there, because so to build from scratch, it's going to take, this is the downside from going from zero with websites. If they rely on what's called search engine optimization, we need SEO, those because they're information sites. So typically we need to take one step back to explain how these sites work. So the sites are information type sites, typically around passion niches. So if you're interested in, spirituality or red kangaroos like I am, or learning how to play golf or learning how to play guitar or all sorts of weird things. We own a site that's about pigeon racing. We own sites about, learning how to make money online or whatever, or how to play better golf, or all those. So see how they're information sites, right? So now if you were to start that from zero, that's going to take typically anywhere like up to a couple of years to build up, because you've got to put content on there and you've got to get what's called traffic to it, which is eyeballs. So the beauty of buying a website is presumably you're short-circuiting all that. So you're buying an aged site that's already successful. So to come back to your question, how long does it take to see a return? Well, if you know what you're doing, when you buy the site, it's like buying any business. You're making instant cash flow because that's what you're buying. You're paying for the profits that you make off the site. But as a beginner, to bring it back to your very specific question around as a beginner, if you buy a site under $1,000, how long will it take to see a return? Typically, to see a return from renovating a site, these days it is taking a lot longer than what it used to 10 years ago. It's probably taking about 12 months to sort of 18 months. But
That's not
you
bad,
don't want to let
though.
that.
That's really not bad. It's
No, and this is a potentially a 6 and 7 figure money making skill. So we've got clients that have become millionaires through doing this, but it takes them a few years to learn. It's like going to uni and retraining yourself.
Well,
So
it's not quick.
you've got to remember
It's
you're
not get rich
building
quick scheme.
assets. Yeah, well, and you got to remember you're building assets here.
Absolutely.
The whole
Building
time,
business.
every little thing you're doing, it's building an asset. So the main thing, you want to know something, Linka, that we mainly spend our time teaching people or convincing them is just to stick at it because it works, but it takes time. So most people want instant rewards because of social media and stuff, I reckon. But anyway, people are looking for instant rewards. They want it now, understandably, but
bad mindset.
Business does not work like that. But here's what I'll say. I've got a lot of experience. A lot of our friends are very successful in business, and ourselves included, and also from all the businesses we've sold with bricks and mortar businesses. I've done a lot of deals in bricks and mortar business, particularly when we're working in mergers and acquisitions. Right, I've probably done hundreds, and I've done due diligences on possibly up to thousands of businesses over 30 years. And you think out of all the people on the planet, I'll be up there in terms of seeing the most businesses in intimate detail, like looking at all their P&Ls and balance sheets. And here's one thing I've noticed. Bricks and mortar businesses rarely make true profits for the owner in anything less than 10 years. In the sorts of businesses that I were looking at. We did manufacturing and wholesale import businesses. And the reality is, it's very rare that I would see a bricks and mortar business make a genuine, decent profit for the owner in anything less than 10 years. It was always between the 10 to 20 year period. Absolutely. And so now it can make you very wealthy, and it's like that. It's the J curve. So the exact same thing happens with websites, except it's compressed down to 1 to 2 years. And that's exactly what happened for Liz and I.
And not only that,
super cool. So it's still the J curve. The first year is really frustrating because it feels like you're doing all this stuff and nothing's happening. But then once it takes off, it goes exponential real quick. Amazing. And so our job is, and this is what I love about what we do, we got to get people on that bottom bit of the graph because people give up. That's what we've got to do. And they need the knowledge. So when you think about it, so there's a really good lesson if you're listening to this. No matter what business you're in, it's probably the same in investing as well. It's like Warren Buffett says, it's a compounding effect. So people give up before they succeed. Like, you just got to stick at it. You just got to know the model you're in. If you're in bricks and mortar business, take it from me. It's going to take you 10 to 20 years. If you're on online businesses, it's probably anywhere from, 1 to 2 to 3 years. If you're in real estate, depending on how you do it, to get the true big wealth effect, it will go compound in real estate as well. It's normally, we've got mentors who are really successful in real estate. The reality is, they don't have to work again now, but it took them 10 years plus to get to that point.
And it's not only that, but it's also having a bricks and mortar. If it's a property, for example, you have physical property. So again, we're talking about physical. You don't have that.
No, none of that. And we have no debt.
Entire portfolio, let's call it, or whatever, you can run from your phone, pretty much.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah,
and we can liquidate it at any time. It literally takes us less than 2 weeks to sell a website, and we can cash out.
And again, through that.
and no debt. There's no debt for us. So we start out small. Even now, we prefer to buy small websites, not big websites. We've done the big website thing. We've done quite large websites, and we own 6 and 7 figure websites, but and buy and sell them. But these days, it's funny, a bunch of our friends now, and we advise it, like we've got lots of clients now, you don't need to do that anymore. You can do it for under 50K. Because you think about it, you can buy up a portfolio. That's what we love teaching, because there's a lot of safety in that. It's safe in terms of, if you build up your skills, once you start making money, you learn this skill of how to make money online, then you got a skill for life. Then you just keep adding to it, and you can just buy more and more websites, and you can just buy them under 50 grand. And so compare that to bricks and mortar businesses, far out. There's, in my opinion, like I'm exaggerating here, but there is zero risk compared to bricks and mortar businesses doing that. We used to have a portfolio of bricks and mortar businesses, and like I said, the amount of times we're nearly bankrupt from that, you're right on the edge of as an entrepreneur when you're trying to do that with bricks and mortar businesses, whereas websites, it's a lot easier.
That's incredible. It really is very, very, very fascinating. Now, Matt, if so let's say I've decided, I'm like, you know what, I really need to learn more about this. So if people found you, so first of all, because we've been talking a lot about that, you are nowhere when it comes to online. So first,
oh no, we're everywhere now online. I'm happy to say with
it's just not you
Institute.
as a you personally. So yeah, so I just want to say, so if somebody does want to find out, because usually I ask this question at the end of the episode, but I feel like now this is like I need to ask that now just for the flow table. So because it's just kind of like, because I'm just kind of feel like we're talking about your like your training as well now, where you can actually help people.
Yep.
So this is why I need to ask that, because I have a question with it. So the question is how long the training actually is. So if someone decides like, right, I'm going to study, I want to study, I want to learn, do you have like a different level of training, or it's just the one training? How does it work?
I think the best thing is if someone's listening and they're interested in this, just do our free masterclass. It's about 90 minutes.
Nice.
And we go through it. And then at the end, we do talk about our paid for course, because we're a private training organization here in Australia, and we have clients all around the world now. But just start out, hang out on our blog, go and read all the success stories from our students, what they're doing, get a feel for who we are.
Tell us, say it out loud.
Oh, sorry. It's an Australian site, .com.au. It's called ebusinessinstitute.com.au.
Okay, thank you.
And just / masterclass. Or if you go to ebusinessinstitute.com.au, there's heaps of buttons around there to find the masterclass. That's where everyone that gets introduced to us kind of starts, because we go through the full strategy of the sorts of sites because everyone listening, I am guessing, is going, well, what sort of websites do you buy? Where do you buy them? How do you do due diligence on them? We explain all that in the masterclass. Just go and do it, and then figure out if it's something you want to do.
That's great.
And there's lots of examples of the sorts of sites we buy as well.
And I guess also people have different skills as well. So you could have a client who basically never touched internet, really, never doesn't know anything about it. But you got a geek, someone who is all the time on the internet. They know exactly, so you probably get also different types of clients where you need to give them different education as well, and different TLC.
Oh, interesting. We don't cater for advanced or intermediate people. It's not our passion. Our thing is teaching people who are total beginners. So we just presume anyone that comes into our sphere is a total beginner online, like we were once upon a time. And you'll notice on our website, all our success stories are, typically, Lenka, they're a little bit older than you. They're in their 40s, 50s. We retrain a lot of professional.
Well, thank you, because you don't know how old I am. But
no, I'm just presuming you're in your early 20s. That's what we were saying about Liz.
Now you became my best friend. I'm actually 33 in a couple of weeks.
All right. Okay. There you go. Yeah, so not our typical age group here. So we do have some younger people like yourself, but just so anyone listening knows, this is good news if you're a total beginner. Like seriously, we started out teaching people who were technophobes, like really like us, were scared of computers, and we just found we love it, and that's what we keep doing, and so that's what we're really well known for. So we don't teach advanced people. If you're fully geeky and you already know SEO and stuff and you're listening to this, we're probably not the right people to teach you, because you probably know it all, most of it anyway. But if you've never done this and you've never heard about buying and selling websites, then we're probably the perfect people to teach you how to do it. And we do, our specialty is training people to transition from full-time employment to doing this full-time, because we work with a lot of people now who are burnt out from corporate or working, we call it working 5 to 9, none of this 9 to 5 here in Australia, and it's around the world. We got clients, a lot of clients in the UK and US as well. Same problem. They're working massive hours. They're all burnt out. And because of COVID, I think they realized, hey, we love working at home. We want to do what Matt and Liz do and all their clients are doing. And so, and then it's interesting, Lenka, for the younger people like yourself, who are in their early 20s or 30s, we have a lot of them use our what we teach to become laptop lifestyle entrepreneurs. So so when it's funny, we've been coaching people now for the last 15 years in this, and it's really good fun for me. I'm getting a little bit older and wiser, and I can see how it splits up. Once people are in their 40s and above, they get a bit more settled. They want to be from home with their family, work from home. Whereas when they're young in your age, they want freedom. Their main value in life is freedom. They don't care about the money. They just want to be able to, Matt, I want to quit my job because I'm burnt out. I want to live off my laptop in Thailand or Europe or whatever. And you'll see on our website, lots of our younger clients, that's exactly what they do. They live in, we've got a couple now that like a bunch of them are traveling around Australia in vans. It's a huge thing here in Australia.
Yeah.
And now they can work because of Starlink. They've got internet access no matter where. They can be in the middle of the desert and they can still they just, for 1 hour a day or whatever, they log into their websites, fix a few things up, and then the rest of the time they're in their caravans or in their vans driving around Australia. And we've got young people living in Thailand. Thailand's a big, kind of place to live, or Europe. So if you're younger, I would recommend you do our masterclass and go and look at some of the success stories we have and fill your head with a vision, like set goals and go, that's what I want to do in 5 years' time, or whatever it is as you transition out of your job.
And I absolutely love that. And just because you said now, the fix the mindset, have the goal, I have to mention now here, I know it is a slightly kind of like different topic, but it's not. It's all mixing together. When you said about goals and have a vision, things like that, we've mentioned before we were recording on our first phone call, we were talking about the mindset, and we both realized that we both are big believers in like vision boards. And when I said the word vision board, you stopped me. You were like, whoa, that stuff works. So I'm a huge believer in it. So can you just tell us a little bit about your story and about how that actually really works? How did you attract certain things in your life?
From goal setting and visualizing success, yes, because I come from nothing, and it was I come from and I never I made, like, for whatever reason as a kid, like my mum, the first part of my life, mum was a single mum, believe it or not, from England, and she immigrated, escaped to Australia, and luckily, thank goodness, and basically our stories came out here with nothing, absolutely nothing, and mum was one of those people that, single mum trying to raise me, and the money would run out on Tuesday. Like, she paid on a Thursday and the money would run out by the next Tuesday because it all just goes on rent, and we would have hardly any food or whatever. It didn't affect me though. It was a great life. We had it was Australia. Australia's a beautiful spot to live in. But what that set me up with was I never wanted to be like that. I really, really have a big dislike of being poor and big fears around it and stuff. I guess it comes from, all that stuff that would have happened in mum's life and my life back then. And so then when mum remarried and we went out on the farm, it was unreal. It was awesome. But again, on a farm here in Australia, we didn't know any rich people or anything like that. And I think ever since a kid, I was training myself to visualize what the life was that I wanted. And so for us, I can honestly say, as exciting as our strategy sounds and all that sort of thing, honestly, 80% of our success, maybe even more, comes down to mindset and goal setting. And I'm a big believer in it. Yeah. And what I did, as soon as I turned 17 and finished school, I left the country and moved into the city, into Sydney. And one of the things that happened to me there was I had, believe it or not, I had body issues and confidence issues. I was very shy and I was severely underweight. Yeah, and I was severely underweight, and I had social anxiety issues and all that sort of stuff. So what I did was I forced myself to go into a gym and train and change my life in that way. And it worked. And what changed my life, though, you will like this, Lenka, is not the working out bit. It was on the wall in the gym. This was in 1987. There's this picture on the wall of this guy called Arnold Schwarzenegger. And he was just starting to become famous back then. And I would look at him And I got really interested, and I'd go and read his story, and I'd see him in the movies. He'd just come out in, some of those big movies back then, like Predator and all that sort of stuff. Any of you older know what I'm talking about?
I do.
And
It's Arnold
yeah,
Schwarzenegger at the end of the day.
yeah. But what was amazing to me was when I read his story, I went, cool, that's my role model for success, because Arnie says, I had a dream and I created it with the power of my mind, and it really opened my eyes. And I just went, wow. You can just, because he came to America with nothing, and then he became mega successful in his own way. And I just went, right, that's what I'm going to do. And so I just said, right, I'll set goals. I'll figure out how to do this, and I'll visualize it just like Arnie did. I'm not going to become a famous bodybuilder and an actor or anything like that. My goals were business. And I just said, I got no idea how to do this, just like Arnie had no idea. He couldn't even speak the language. He had an impossible name. And so I had all these things going against me. I was incredibly shy, not confident, knew no one, all that sort of stuff, had no idea about business. But I said, I'll do what Arnie did. I'll visualize.
Oh, Matt, I'm very sorry. I don't know what happened there. We had a little bit of technical difficulties there. So I'm very sorry I had to interrupt you there. But so yeah, please continue with your visualization and how Arnold Schwarzenegger inspired you.
Yeah, well, like I was saying, Lenka, that is literally what changed my life. And I think, it was the big catalyst. And I suddenly realized you can change your life with the power of your mind, like Arnie said. And then, of course, I started reading books about that as well, like Think and Grow Rich and The Magic of Thinking Big. They were kind of like classics back then that everyone
But
was
now
reading.
they're still classics.
Oh, yeah, well, that's good. That's good. Well, literally anyone listening, like Lenka said, honestly, I took it to heart, because I had this, you got to think about it, I had this role model in front of me of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and the guy had an impossible uphill battle, really. But also what I loved about Arnie was he's very cheeky and happy about it, and he loved what he did. And that, I think, is what Liz and I created so well together, was a visualization of, hey, this can be a fun journey, because we met entrepreneurs who were unhappy, divorced, drank too much, just like the rest of the population. But on the surface, they look really successful. And so big part of our visualization, when we got together and we realized we had shared values around freedom. We both wanted to be able to work from home and work whatever hours we want and work whenever we want. And for me, I wanted money as well. Like Liz wasn't interested in money, it wasn't her thing. But when we realized we had those sorts of shared visions, what we also realized was, well, okay, now we can do this goal setting thing where, like Arnie says, it's kind of a smorgasbord. You can pick whatever you want. You can create whatever you want. So let's not just go for money or whatever. Why don't we create this thing where it's fun, like Arnie, really enjoy what we do, but have challenges still, because you're always going to have challenges. And in business, we certainly got hit with a few of those, especially in the early day. Well, the whole time, you always have challenges. But at the end of the day, that was also, I do want to say this to your listeners, it's not just about setting, 101 goals. Everyone sets, I want to make $1 million, whatever, a year, or whatever it is, or want to become a millionaire. Well, it's not quite as simple as that. Set a full-on goal for your whole life, like also for your family, the people you hang out with, what you do with your time, how your average day looks, also how your energy looks. Like, do you want to be excited and enthusiastic? That sort of stuff. And I also set goals to change who I was. So I'm completely different today. In my core, I'm the same person, but I am like people that know me from when I was younger, and like Liz, we've been together now, worked together in business for 24/7 for 30 odd years. And she knows I'm a completely different person to what I was back then when she first met me. Just
amazing,
gradually change. And that's from the power of the mind. Like you said, Lenka, the name of your pod, it's awesome. The name of your podcast reflects what we've done. And I think we're a walking, living example of that. And since then, here's the interesting thing. We've been on this journey. That's why we buy and sell so many businesses. It's all about learning. And for us, a big part of our journey, as I said, was, for the two of us, we realized was mindset. And we love learning anything about mindset. So we've basically gone on this journey over the years of how the hell do you change your life and become who you want, become, in inverted commas, successful. You go on this massive journey where you read, I've read, hundreds and hundreds of books about it. And we've tried all sorts of weird and wonderful things as well. Some, a lot of metaphysical stuff as well has worked well for us. Law of attraction, all that sort of stuff. That stuff's worked. We had a mentor. Here's an interesting story for you and any of your listeners, presumably listening to this. We had this really, and I won't swear, but tough. I was going to say tough ass guys. You can blank that out if you want.
You can swear my podcast.
Yeah. He seriously, this guy's super tough ass businessman, right? In Sydney, and a very private individual, very, very successful. And I looked up to him, but he, not a perfect individual by any means, very aggressive, very, he'd upset a lot of people. He's that kind of a gung ho older gentleman. But you can learn a lot off people like that. And so we spent a lot of time with him. And he secretly said to me one day, Matt, he goes, you look at me and you know how people are scared of me, and he's gruff and he's a badass in bed, like hard ass negotiator, all that sort of stuff. And he said, Matt, you want to know a little secret? He goes, I got friends that are into all this metaphysical stuff. And, he said, this guy would laugh at it at first. And then he realized over the years, he said, you know what, Matt? I won't say I fully follow it or agree with it, but I study it a lot, because if it just gives me 2 to 5% edge in business, he goes, that's enough for me. And he goes, that's what's happened for him. And it really stuck in my mind. So he's this guy on the surface, he's super tough ass, but every morning, 5 a.m., he's out on the beach omming and meditating. And he does all the visualization stuff. He doesn't tell anyone else except for me. Like, every 4 times a year, he'll go on a retreat and disappear into the bush, and all the stuff that you read, like in, any of those books, like in Deepak Chopra and all the, the names, and Wayne and Wayne Dyer and all that sort of stuff. He was right into it. And he said, look, it's not like it's 80% of my success, he reckons, but it gave him a 2 to 5% success in business. And it's pretty cool to see. And it was fun. It was fun. So you meet these interesting characters in your life when you go on this journey. And it's been a real journey for us. And I would say, though, if you're listening to this podcast, pay attention to what Lenka is teaching you guys or sharing with you guys in the form of the guest and her passion for bringing in people to talk about mindset. Because honestly, no matter what strategy you decide to physically use to change your life financially, at the end of the day, it still comes back to mindset. And it's what you're doing, Lenka, with your podcast here is awesome, because people need these stories. They need to realize behind all these successful business people or athletes or TV stars or whatever people you see, or family people, like, they might be really successful in their family. I guarantee you there's a large part of that is through mindset. It's something they train themselves to do. And I think, like you've said, like you and I were talking about before this podcast, visualization, it's probably that most powerful hack you can use to get quick results, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Visualization every day.
I'm a huge believer in that. And during the broken ankle injury, which happened 3 months ago now, and I'm still recovering.
Yes.
It's gonna take a while because it's the right leg. I can't drive or anything. It's crazy. So it's basically, but what I want to say is that I worked on my mindset even more than ever before. And don't get me wrong, it's not that I've started with mindset 3 months ago. It's been on for ages. But in the last 3 months, I dig deeper. I'm talking deeper into energies as well, to the point that I actually am starting a 6 months program with an entrepreneur energy healer. I even had her on my podcast and interviewed her. She's helping entrepreneurs around the world shift the energies, get rid of the lower vibrations, and get the higher frequent vibrations in your life in order to actually attract more what you want. So I'm a huge believer in that as well. And it's the mindset and it's the energies. And also we have loads of, like, for example, I personally grew up with a working family as well, where rich people are bad, money are bad. And there's all that BS, basically, which was blueprinted into my head. So when I wanted to decide, when I decided it's time to work on my success, I had to undo what my parents did first before I could go like, oh, now I understand. So the mindset is so important, and sooner you start, better. Because as I said,
Yep.
like I can
Totally.
clearly imagine if I have my own children now, their mindset will be probably straight away different from 8-0.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's how we're really lucky. Our kids are right into this as well, and they're very open. Because Liz and I talk about it at the dinner table a lot around mindset. And so now our kids are very, very aware around how or how important mindset is in overcoming, stresses or getting success even at school or in what we do. And we train a lot. We do a lot of physical stuff as well. And the kids realized there's a mindset element to that. So our daughter was competing in that space, and it's all mindset. You can see the people that win the competitions, it comes down to mindset. And so it's a really cool thing if you're listening to this, like you said, Lincoln, imagine our kids are all going to turn out differently. And I know there's lots of challenges, there's new challenges for kids now out there.
Very
but
many.
I think mindset and resilience, you hear that as a parent.
And discipline as well.
And discipline, yeah. And that's the other thing that Liz and I learned off Arnold Schwarzenegger, the discipline. But you turn it into fun. So I used to freak out because our number one value is freedom, right? And you hear this word discipline, it's like, oh no, man, that's bad. That's the opposite of freedom. But Arnie said, it's through discipline that I actually got true freedom in my life. And now I realize 30 years later, he's right. It's literally, we teach this stuff. It's one of our main keywords that we teach our clients is consistency and discipline and focus and intention. So they're our main things that we live and breathe by. And having that discipline to turn up every day and do something, that's a life changer. When it's compounding, far out, it's a life changer. And discipline actually becomes easy. At first, when you're young and stuff, it seems hard. But see, if you can teach your kids that or yourself that, I reckon that's one of the big secrets to success.
Matt, I can see it through your words, through your skin, through your energy. You're glowing. I can tell how much you love this topic. You are so passionate about this topic, and it clearly changed your life. And you know what? I think, Matt, what we should do is that we should get you back on the podcast sometime soon. I think that's what's going to happen.
Perfect.
Now people will know,
and
the listeners who will, the loyal listeners by then, when you come back, the loyal listener will already know who you are, what you do.
Yep.
You need to come back and we'll talk more about mindset because you are clearly super passionate about this.
we are. We know the results. So there you go. Would love to, Lenka. Be my pleasure.
That'll be amazing. I really look forward to it. Matt, I always ask a guest, if you have your top book to recommend, the book would change your life. And I know you've mentioned a few, and it might be hard to pick one. But if you could tell that read or listen to this book changed my life, what would it be?
Okay. So back at that pivotal moment in my life, when I moved into Sydney, the number one book that changed my life, which I discovered around the same time as when I discovered Arnold Schwarzenegger, it's such a cliche, and it's Warren Buffett's favorite book as well. It's How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Nice.
It taught me how to get on well with people. I am going to, Lenka, though, do something very special and throw in one other book, which people will find surprising, but I think you will definitely appreciate and love this. I'm hoping you know this book. There is another book that had equally as impact on my life, probably kind of 5 to 10 years later when I was going into a new phase in my life, and that is You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay.
You Can Heal Your Life. I love that.
By Louise Hay. It's a huge self-help book. She started Hay House Publishing. So if any of you listen to read self-help books, you've probably been touched by the work of Louise Hay. But it was recommended to me by a very successful entrepreneur in Sydney, and it changed his life. And he said, hey, Matt, you should read this. We're around at his house one day. And again, really full-on businessman. And it looks very feminine, the book and everything, because it's got this beautiful cover and it's all hand-drawn. And he just said, hey, Matt, I reckon you should try that book. It had a big impact on me. And it's all about mindset and stuff like that. So hugely impactful on my life. It's so important, those two books, for me, that's why I want to mention two.
Fantastic. Absolutely love it. And there's another thing I always ask as well is, what would you recommend to watch? Now, it doesn't have to even do anything with our topic, but if Matt said, like, guys, if you want to relax or if you want to get motivated, whatever you want to recommend, but what is something you like to watch?
Something I like to watch, or what I reckon your listeners should watch? I know what I reckon.
It's up to you what you recommend, because to give you an idea, some people give something, like I personally love documentaries, so I would talk about documentaries. Some people say, you know what, when I want to relax, I don't do anything educational, I'll watch something funny. So it really depending on the person. Some people don't watch TV at all. So if Matt would recommend something, what would you recommend?
I want to help your listeners, because I recommended this recently to all our community, because I know a lot of people are out there trying to create financial success in their lives. If you're a younger person or you don't feel you're that good on finance side, watch the series on Netflix. I've recommended it to everyone as someone who's self-made and done well. It's the series on Netflix by Ramit Sethi. It's about money. I don't know. He's a really cool guy. He's got a book as well. And what he does, he interviews couples or people.
I know
and
which
takes
one
them
you
through
mean.
a process. So maybe your listeners should look it up. It's on Netflix.
I'll have a look, and I'll pop it in the thingy.
It is brilliant.
Yeah,
it is seriously good.
I know which documentary you're talking about. It came out recently, like a few months ago or something.
So Lenka and listeners, I'm going to do this again, right? I reckon I'm going to give you another recommend. I've got to give two recommendations. The second one is, which I enjoyed it because I binged on Ramit Sethi. He's a really, it's all about money. And even it was just awesome. And we got our kids to watch it. We told all our clients to watch it. At the same time, Liz and I binged on, of course, the Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary on Netflix as well. It's a 3-part series.
I love it.
Watch that as well. That is perfect.
I loved it. Absolutely. Brilliant. Matt, that's fantastic. So, okay, we know where to find you. We know what you do. You recommended the book. You recommended something to watch. I had such a pleasure to have you here today. You shared so many golden nuggets. You shared so much. The energy you got, it's amazing. The success you guys achieved, I honestly just, I just want to say well done, and keep going. Obviously, there's no doubt that you guys going to achieve whatever you put your mind into. There's no doubt about that. You already are, but obviously whatever you're gonna from now on as well. It was such a pleasure to have you here, and honestly, I can't wait to have you back. We organize another session. Is there anything else you would like to add for the listeners before we go?
I think we've covered a lot of ground. Mindset is so important. I think that is probably the most important thing. And I want to say thank you for, getting my story out there. And it's very insightful of someone like yourself. And it's great to see you doing this podcast, because mindset is something I'm very passionate about. And I know with a lot of my close friends who are successful in business, we talk about it all the time. And it's something that is super important. And if you're listening to this podcast, I hope that's the number one lesson you got off Lenka and myself today, is it's worth binging on anything to do with mindset. It will change your life. It's an investment in yourself, mindset.
Love that.
So that's my mindset.
I'm going to pop that on my note. So it's mindset, it's investment.
Yes. Yeah, that's actually, I think that is. It's an investment. Of anything you do to do with mindset is an investment in your future and your future happiness.
Amazing. Love it. Matt, thank you ever so much, honestly, for coming today, for sharing your story, for sharing your successes, explaining something new, which loads of people don't even know that's a thing. So it's amazing that you guys found it. Well done to Liz as well. Please give her hello from me, because she sounds amazing. And I will definitely have you back one day soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me on, Lenka. That was unreal.
Thank you, Matt. It was great. Thank you. Have a great night, actually, because I'm about to start my day. You're going to bed, aren't you?
Yep. We're going to bed.
Take care, Matt. Thank you.
No worries, Lenka. See you. Bye.